In today's Mystery of Black History, we highlight Dorothy Dandridge. Everything that glitters isn't gold. I kept telling myself that as I read through the pages of Everything and Nothing, the Dorothy Dandridge tragedy, which tells the story of one of Hollywood's first black media darlings. The book starts with Dorothy moving out of her luxurious mansion in Los Angeles. She's losing her home, she's in the middle of her second divorce, her special needs daughter Lynn has been returned to her, and she has little money left. Having once possessed millions of dollars from her movies and singing gigs, bad investment advice from her lawyer drained her down to only $5,000. In the first chapter, she speaks to her reluctance of writing a book about herself, but states that with the encouragement of close friends and her personal manager, Earl, she concedes. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, November 9, 1922, Dorothy began show business at the age of 3. This was relatively expected as Dorothy's mother, Ruby Dandridge, was also into performing arts. Dorothy's father was a non-factor in her life, yet the emotional void he left her with set her down a road filled with countless romantic tragedies. Dorothy and her older sister, Vivian, would form a duo called the Wonder Kids, and since money was scarce for the family, the duo went all around the country performing and helping the family earn money. Life was difficult for a single black mother during these times, so when one of Ruby Dandridge's church friends came to live with them, there was hope that some level of relief would commence. Eloise Matthews, who the Dorothy sisters called Auntie Mama, was quite the opposite, at least to Dorothy. Throughout the book, it's hard to like anything about Auntie Mama, as Dorothy was subject to constant physical abuse and even a rather twisted form of sexual abuse, as Dorothy would tell of an incident where Auntie Mama checked to see if she was still a virgin. The show must go on. Dorothy married young to famous tap dancer Harold Nicholas, and though she tried everything to be a good wife, Harold quite literally was a useless human being. The two would have a young child, Harolyn, or Lynn, and it was intuitively evident to Dorothy that there was something wrong with her daughter, as Lynn would never fully develop cognitively. Alone, fear beset me. I had failed as a wife, a lover, even as a mother. My experience with Harold left me with an inner uncertainty about myself in relation to men. What happened with Harold might happen with another. Any man you took up with or married might do what he did. Stay with you for a few years, then take off. After all, it had happened to my mother even before I was born. After my divorce, living was precarious. I was broke, I was so desperate that I couldn't find entertainment or theater work. There was a frightening possibility of having to live off men. Hollywood was filled with girls living that way. I hated that prospect. The show must go on. Dorothy's life was everything and nothing. Though she was a rising star in Hollywood and though every man wanted her on their arm, Dorothy genuinely wanted a healthy marriage and protection for her daughter. Two things she would never get. She would continue singing in saloons to make money, however, she soon began to despise that endeavor. Looking for love in all the wrong places and on the verge of suicide, she would land her most notable role in the 1954 film Carmen Jones, starring alongside Harry Belafonte. This film would catapult Dorothy into a level of stardom that only few actors had ever seen, making her the first black actress to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress. Yet, Dorothy was still empty. She states, "All of it was satisfying in a peculiar way. I felt vindicated for my years of frustration in marriage, love, and motherhood. It was as if I had purged myself of feelings of inadequacy. As far as I was concerned, I had achieved as much as I thought I could or would achieve in Hollywood. I was in it and had got there because after my marriage failed, I had to make my own way and I had worked myself to that point. But having achieved whatever I did, I found that inside me there was this vast hollow of private frustration. Where was the right love and marriage and home life? If I didn't have that, all the rest was semi-realization and chimera. The fact is, I didn't care essentially for stardom. I don't now, I never did. They may seem unbelievable, it may seem contradictory, it may sound like sour grapes, it may sound un-Hollywood-like, so be it." Though she would marry again in 1959, divorce was right around the corner in 1962. Dorothy Dandridge was a woman looking for love in a world full of lust, a woman looking to be understood in a world that thrives off of obscurity. In many ways, Dorothy's life was more tragic than most. A sweet girl from Cleveland who was only seen as an object of beauty and not a complete person. Near the end of the book, as she sits outside the mansion with her daughter, watching the movers move her furniture out, she recites the poem A Prayer by Paul Laurence Dunbar, continuing to move with optimism despite her circumstances. Everything and Nothing, The Dorothy Dandridge Tragedy, is a book that epitomizes duality and a steady reminder that everything that glitters isn't gold. Like if you enjoyed this segment, share if it could benefit others, subscribe for more book-related content. Till then, stay in the book or stay out the way.